So starting off, your demo man can either be rolling out right side and pretty much just rolling gently around this ramp area. Generally, yeah. Have a buff, don't die. Fight from around here. This gives you a lot of cover and protection, and you can kind of arc it towards their ramp and house. If anybody goes from there, your other main option would be to just kind of jump left side spawn, land around under this bridge, maybe do another jump, land around from this angle. And it kind of just depends on what the enemy team does a lot. I think an invite, this might be preferred though, like left side rollout wise, just figure out what works best for your team. Anyways, the rest of your team is usually just kind of trying to roll out from around mainish or left side, I'd say. You probably don't see too many people going ramp, I don't think. You kind of just want people directly getting onto point, and the people who aren't directly getting onto point are going in from tunnel and jumping onto the point. Ramp is just a bit of a really slow rollout for anybody who's trying to get into the battle there, compared to just being able directly to kind of walk into a sightline here with your team and support your demo man on the fight. It's really vital though that you have your soldier kind of work with you on the mid fight. So usually what you'll see happen is like your soldier whips your sniper, have you on the rollout, does some jumps away, probably rolls out to around here from left side or so. You can do a lot of fancy jumps, land around here anyways. And what you'd normally see for mid-fight is a soldier doing something like a really high bomb over the left side over here or so, and either just landing behind them on the house and shooting into them from above, or bombing onto their ramp wherever their team kind of rolls out from either right side or left side pretty much, as your demo man is calling for your team to walk in over point though. And that just forces their team to look up. Very high skybox makes a huge distraction, and while they're distracted with your soldier in the sky, you all walk in across point. Now your heavy can either be walking underneath the point, your heavy can be fighting on the point, like kind of using cover to his advantage and just walking the same side as your demo. Make sure you're kind of denying both these doorways though. Doorways? No, there's no door, whatever. Walkways. Something that you might see a lot of is just like a soldier or something spamming at your team from above over here. Have your pyro be denying that call. If their team's walking around the right side, then just try and contest them from around here. So if you contest them from an opposite angle that still kind of covers it, it means you really kind of box them in over there. If you try and take the fight directly along here, you get choke pointed really hard, but then if you swing to point and kind of contest them when they're trying to rush right side from over here, your demo man like kind of just boxes them in instead. Then just make sure you have a call on their sniper. If their sniper is in tunnel, don't be peeking them. If their sniper is cold, peek them together, make a distraction for your sniper, have your soldier going if you need to, and just get in at the same time, and basically you're just trying to have everything converge. Something that you really see certain teams do though, I believe, like as an example, imposters would usually like to do this, would be to have their soldier heavy roll out top right, top left, top right, whatever side, through the tunnel, and I believe it'd be called the eagle strategy, and you just like have your heavy get whipped through, and he just jumps down onto a fence, shoots the enemy team from above, or lands right onto the side as your team walks in. It can work out pretty well, but once teams get used to it, it's just like you're kind of throwing your heavy away for the fight, but just be changing things up, be making sure your heavy is supporting your team the best they can, and make sure everybody's getting in at the same time. Your scout is normally playing with your demo man around the point. With Cascade, there's a lot of really good scout angles, and a lot of them come from just using these little high grounds and covers and shooting at their demo man from above, slightly above, and making sure that, it's really hard for their demo man to actually deal with you. If you, you can get up to here, jump into their tunnel, kill flank members, trying to lay their soldier bomb if you want, fight them around there. Most importantly, that can kind of help you with lone snipers in tunnel, though, if their sniper's called alone in tunnel. Another thing you might struggle with is just wrangled minis in tunnel. In that case, just have your demo man spam it a few times when there's an opportunity to, or have your spy coordinate to stab with your soldier or so, just a flank member in general. Have your sniper roll out tunnel if you really need to, if they send their sniper tunnel, so on and so forth. But just make sure it does get cleared off at some point, otherwise you're not really getting on point here. But anyways, having a scout pressuring from above is fantastic for Cascade. Just always be playing on the low rocks, on fences. Just be in pretty much at any point you can. Don't stack up directly onto your demo man. Let him take the fight. let your combo be close to your demo man, and you're kind of just supporting them from high grounds here and abusing the high ground to your advantage, which also really helps stall their soldier, because if you play around like these little angles, it means their soldier's not really able to get a good roll out either, and you can delay him for a while. But anyways, flood, talk things over with your team, get your soldier going, walk at the same time, flood. If the enemy team sends a lot of things under, you can wait for that for a little bit, just have your heavy be watching passive under with a full buff, they walk into them, they die, so on and so forth. Play off how the enemy team's playing. If they keep sending things under, don't just keep dying and panicking to it, be prepared for it and actually do something off of it, or better yet, just flood point when they're distracted with under, get in, then you can just trap them off either way and get onto point. A lot of strategies you could do, the most effective is just getting onto the point though. When your team has point, you can have your soldier forward holding their tunnel, make sure he gets buff. He holds this doorway, he spams here, who spams here, who spams here. Very hard for your soldier to lose this. He has a full buff over here, he has this entire doorway. The only way he really loses it is if your team starts getting pressured out onto point. But the main benefit of having your soldier play forward in their tunnel is that their soldier isn't able to bust through onto point or bomb through here. Your soldier locks this down, he has the high ground, he has this wall, he has a very large safety net, he can back it if he needs to. It's kind of hard for a spy to get in here as well. Your scout can be playing around here or here and supporting your soldier can be swinging out to like one of these two angles as well. But the biggest thing by far is that this prevents their sniper from being able to get in at all through tunnel. And if their sniper doesn't get in through all through tunnel, your team has a lot more like free presence on the point, and it's a lot easier to do a hold. This is especially good for aggressive holds though. Just having flank members be present on their bats, have them kind of give ground as needed, but have them be preventing their sniper from being able to do anything with that ground. If they're down flank members, if their sniper plays alone, have your soldier dive on that, have your scout dive on that. If their sniper plays around here, so they're called alone, have your soldier just bomb over, land on their sniper. Sniper is really important for Cascade, as with most maps in the game. Just have your flank be delaying them over here. Here pretty much just looks like you can kind of rotate between these two spots. You can be very fluid and mobile here. It's kind of hard to get caught in as long as you don't walk into the house. And again, you're kind of just delaying people. You're buying your team point time. You might not be getting kills, but you're getting a lot of presence for your team. You're giving them a lot of control of the side of the map, and you're preventing the enemy team from being able to kill your team on point. Now, if your team is playing very aggressively here, if it's called their combos on ramp and they just keep pushing ramp over and over again, what you want to usually do, as long as their sniper doesn't have an angle on you from like their bats or so, is just, especially if they don't have Uber. If they have Uber, it's a bit more questionable, in which case you might just do like a 1 or 2 man sack, like have your soldier just high bomb, land into them from the fence, and just get a force. Maybe you can have your spy or scout going as well, but if their team is holding very forward on ramp, and they don't have Uber, and they just keep trying to take this fight over and over again from over here, if your soldier high bombs, lands into them from behind or any of like these really open areas, and your demo man walks here, shoot a few stickies, their entire team kind of just gets trapped and dies. Their pyro can only physically reflect so much there. It's really hard, as long as your soldier doesn't get sniped or other players get sniped, for it to be denied, because there's so much open space around here and your team is going to have so much control of their side of the map. Anyways. And again, if their team goes ramp, just punish them for it. Like if they're trying to fight without Uber over and over again from their ramp, bomb it, make sure their medic dies, make sure their players get collapsed upon, make sure your demo man peeks this with like your heavier pyro so you still have somebody watching main in their house, and just keep collapsing there. If they're going right side, you can kind of do the same thing. You can like play a little bit forward around the rock so you can just spam into them. You're not getting that aggressive in that case usually though, but again, you can do a lot of good work with your soldier and Cascade. You can have them high bomb over, or just like jump in, whatever sort of jump you want to do, land into their team as they're rolling around here. And if you're presenting another threat, if you're using your demo men to have like a spam angle on them to kind of force them and draw their pyro's attention, you're delaying their team's rollout, you're putting them in a position where their mechs could be in the open for a bit. It's really fantastic if you just keep applying that pressure, maybe even walk forward for a bit, just with your demo man, if nothing else, and then have your soldier going off that. And if you can just keep bombing and killing their medic over that, And that worked like pretty well versus Rib with imposters. A lot of things you could say about imposters, but just constant soldier aggression despite all the team's weaknesses on Cascade worked out really well. We got a lot of med picks from it. It's a pretty effective strategy for Cascade, and if they keep losing their med on those fights, because you can lock them out at doorways and just get in on the side and behind them, then they're going to lose rounds from it, and a lot of presence and time. They're usually not going to be able to bust it that well from ramp, but you see teams try and do it a decent bit of the time anyways. The main way teams are going to bust is just kind of by flooding through doorways here, or just going to the left side here. The more time you can kind of delay them, the better. Don't lose too many players, but if you have the opportunity to just counter-aggress on them, just know that unless you're specifically counter-aggressing, you're not really getting anything that fancy done here. You're kind of just holding on the point, you're kind of just holding around these rocks, using the cover, having your demo men spam it, and then just backing out when the time's right if you start to lose players at all. And that's pretty much like the biggest thing about this map though. Having your flank be super forward, having your players play high ground, locking these two areas out. If they keep trying to go in from over here, and you have presence in other areas of the map, your demo men just lob stickies here, boom, they can't really walk through here either. They would have just bomb through, one way to exit there, one way to exit there, and collapse. That is the name of Cascade, collapsing. Don't let teams walk out for free. Your soldier can just nuke from pretty much any part of the map instantly. As long as you're coordinating, you are going to do fantastic things with your flank on Cascade. Make sure your soldier's communicating with your scout, make sure they're telling you when they're backing up, and maybe, like, if it's called their sniper is going bad, so their sniper is going tunnel, you're not able to work anything out against their flank or sniper, that's probably when you start playing more passive on this side of the map. And again, just use this cover with your demo men to your advantage. You have a lot of really fantastic spam angles, you don't need to risk your life against the sniper, and you can really just like land a few like center of mass areas where the enemy team kind of needs to walk to get to point, and just get a lot of spam, maybe occasionally forces or kills anyways though. And just expect Reddit engineers to be trying to set up wrangled minis in this tunnel the entire game, basically. Questions?
Not much. Is it actively preferred to just stay defending point opposite side or same side as the enemy's concrete on the map, as well as say we have Uber ad just to keep it since we're defending? It's actively best to just keep it that way.
Keep the ad, be looking for opportunities, be looking for soldier bombs pretty 24/7, make sure you're getting an early call on it. There's so many areas you can get it from, but if you're looking in the sky, like, yeah, people holding their sides, you should be able to get a good call out. Make sure your spy is just giving calls, whether snipers sitting and so forth. I would say usually like it's more preferable to hold around here and then to kind of move up to be more aggressive towards their concrete if it's called that, like, you know, their medic's concrete, or you're trying to take an ad push, or you're trying to collapse. Otherwise, the more you keep playing concrete right here, the more the enemy team just is inclined to walk out here. And if an enemy team is forward on concrete, they just walk out here, you get shredded on concrete from right here. And it's kind of a nasty rotation. You try and back out through there, you get trapped off. You try and back out from here, you just get shredded by their demo heavy, whatever else they decide to send at you. As for busting point, and busting forward holds in general, pretty much you can have your spy going from this side, just right behind here. It can be a bit hard to get them into position. You could have your sniper try and snipe their soldier from way behind, or have them walk up slow here. And pretty much once you start getting their flank dislodged from up here, it's when you can usually start to see a hold get busted. If nothing else is really working though, just have your soldier wet players through, just kind of flood in from above here. But a lot of it just kind of comes down to getting their flankers off, getting them off your side of the map, working your sniper in somewhere, working your flanking, and then just be preparing to be walking from multiple doorways at once. If an enemy team is holding super forward on the right side though, fight them from main, walk in and just try and contest and lob stickies, like trap off these doorways, or just how your players walk in. I wouldn't really suggest trying to go in through left side if they're holding right side at all, because otherwise they're just going to have their sniper sit here, and if you try and peek tunnel, you get sniped. If you have your sniper walk around here, you get sniped. I'd usually say this is like a really good spot to bust it from. Just have your demo heavy walkthrough, have your soldier try and bomb through, make sure you can get their flankers off here. You can have your combo roll out here if you need to and just help for a little bit, but don't roll out ramp and keep fighting from ramp. Main is usually where you want to be taking these fights from, or if you're not getting anything done through main, then that's probably when I'd say start going through left side. Like as an example, if they're just holding directly on left side point, you can just drop down into them from above. It's kind of hard for them to get a good damage onto you there if they're not actively peeking it, or you can just kind of like spam them out from a slow left side rollout here. But again, you're taking such a big disadvantage if the enemy team is holding aggressively right side, because their sniper just hard eyeballs this and there's very little pressure on them unless you're getting picks on their flank. Most important thing to pushing, just getting picks on their flank, get a call where their snipers, get a call whether their team is holding forward right side point, having players right around here, or if their team is holding your ramp, or if they're like on point, or just around your tunnel. I think most of the time though you're going to see teams like holding around this area if they're smart. And again, get their flank off, get high ground players, and just walk in at the same time, force the enemy team to look at multiple things, get your soldier bombing in, maybe have them land over around here. Above their tunnel, it's a bit of a risky one, but it does distract their heavy for a while, or have them land like far past here, then spam into them right along this rock side. Really just be coordinating with your soldier on these pushes, and if you're not able to coordinate with your soldier, if your soldier's having trouble, help your soldier, but your soldier is such a big asset for Cascade. And you just need to be integrating him to your pushes and plays.
I think it's generally smarter to walk in from main.
Compared to ramp, definitely. Compared to left side,
maybe.
Could be. It depends on like how actively the enemy team is trapping this off, but if they're holding for like super forward here, it's always the right choice to go in right through here. If their sniper's down, it's a lot better to go through left side here. If they're playing super passively though, if they're spamming this out, if you're finding yourself losing a lot of players or not being able to walk in through main at all, like the most direct route, and just being able to flood through the doorway, then I would say just default to going left. You are negatively like impacting the game if you go ramp. So either just get through main if you have the opportunity to, if they're holding like super forward, like past the fence. Otherwise, roll out slow left side, support your flank, make sure you're not just getting sniped, make sure you have a call-in sniper, and then just take a peek together. Have your demo men be spamming this indirectly, and like just make sure their sniper can't peek super wide over here. And if your demo man can get this indirect spam off while you're working players in on the flank, while you're getting your soldier prepared to bomb across, then you have a pretty good aspect of walking in. Usually this is like one of the best spots for an enemy team to hold and have players around, like right on this fence or just along this walkway. And if you could trap it off and have a bomber going, then you are basically going to win that fight every single time.
I feel like if you're trying to dry this map if you're trying to take a dry fight, it feels like impossible if they ever have a sniper up and a spy up, because like yeah, you could try and find a spy and kill him, but you're just wasting your time really.
No, yeah, you just want your flank to like suicide for him, like have your soldier just trade his life for it usually.
The issue is like at that point we're just waiting for a miracle to happen so that way we can have like a good fight going into it. And I don't really like relying on just like, hey, if we sack hard enough, maybe we'll get their sniper, you know? Or like maybe we'll get them to force. I don't really like doing that, because if you think about it, they have a wrangled mini, a pyro, a heavy, every single like denial class in the game just chilling there, and I don't think like having like sacking 3 people.
The more they have like designated just to protecting their sniper there, because he's so important, the easier it is for your team to just waddle up while your soldier's making that huge distraction and to just get in on point. Their sniper's probably looking at for as well at that point. It's a lot more about just making the distraction, forcing the sniper to look away, providing pressure. You can have your spy just like trade his life, shoot the sniper a bit. The answer would honestly probably be to just have your spy like just harass the sniper with his pistol. Don't have him go for a kill, just make sure their sniper's getting injured, especially if he's playing away from combo. If he's playing closer to combo, it's usually a lot easier for your team to work in and pressure their sniper and team, because they're going to be eating a lot of the same spam. But if their sniper's playing like alone bats or like around bats, around high ground, any of these 3 spots, like your spy can just pretty much very freely, like you're not getting a stab there probably if versus a smart team, but you can just keep like revolvering their sniper over and over again, and if you do that, their sniper physically cannot be taking that peek when they're down to like half or 10 HP. And that's usually the answer there, just have your spy kind of trade their life so your team can get in. Yeah.
Alrighty, I guess.
And
I
if
think
your
my other
sniper's
issue is
taking-
probably just like the fucking giant ass trench or whatever that you literally have to cross before you can even get close to them.
Yeah, welcome to Cascade not being very liked, but somehow also Lakeside not being very liked. And the map's just rotating every season.
Why
I
can't
really,
we
really
just play
think-
Badwater? Like, come on. Better map.
But
I don't want another PL map.
It's a good cost map.
pretty much like again though, like yeah, it's really hard to bust through on your own. A lot of the time, like it feels like you need a miracle, but
The
if you
issue
have
with
people,
making a good Koth map is you either make Sniper good or you make Sniper bad. And if you make Sniper good, then nobody likes the map. And if you make Sniper bad, then 50% of the player base doesn't like the map.
yep. But the biggest thing there is just having multiple people do it together. Like you might lose players for it. You might like you're probably losing your spy for that. But if your sniper takes, if your spy calls when their sniper is, like if their sniper's here, if your spy calls it, they call when they're going for the sniper. You know, they revolve their sniper a bit. They force them into descope. That gives your sniper a huge opportunity. Again, you don't need your spy going for stabs or hero plays. A lot of spies don't really do this, especially on lower dose. But if your spy just like revolvers their sniper from like a safe distance away, you can force them to unscope, force them to kind of, you know, humanly react, make them tilt a bit maybe, and just present that narrow opportunity for your team to walk in. You don't need to rely on a miracle. All you need to do is just take matters into your own hand and distract their sniper for a bit. Don't need to kill them, just distract them, and that provides an opportunity for your sniper, the class that is best at killing their sniper, to kill their sniper, or at least to get an opportunity to get in, because their sniper won't be high or eyeballing any of these. If you just really can't get through, your spy just needs to learn how to use the revolver, play these high grounds like way above the enemy team, and just shoot their sniper. And then you walk in and bomb in as you need to. Don't need a miracle there, but you know, good if you can kill their sniper. But if not, just make sure you're taking that peek at the same point time, or you're never getting on point anyways there. And that is pretty much the only way you're getting through there, if there's that sort of like split second absent judgment, if there is that very narrow opportunity, and you have to create it yourself.
What do I do at mid-fights if their sniper goes bad? So I can't really hide from the sightline, so...
I'd just say,
Yeah,
spam
but I'm just giving up a
passively run.
shitload of space.
Yeah, pretty
There's
much.
a-
And you're kind of just playing around your soldier there, like, if their sniper's going bats, you're kind of, like, and you're calling, you getting locked out by him, you're kind of calling to your soldier, okay, their sniper's playing bats, your soldier bombs in from tunnel, trades to their life, their pyre isn't, like, playing to deny on that mid-fight, their heavy is probably still rolling out. If your soldier lands there early, because you're getting locked out by their sniper early, assumedly, your soldier just 2-taps their sniper around here, your scout can just kind of walk in as well if they need to. But really,
Alrighty.
just soldier there, like, he's usually rolling tunnel anyways, he's in a pretty good position to do it. If he bombs across the enemy team's looking for him anyways, he lands a rocket on their sniper there, he lands another rocket, very easy area to do it in.
Okay,
But it's
cool.
just like, especially during the mid-fight though, there's like a lot of opportunity, like in the early stages, right? Like it's like on Astral, they're still rolling out, you know, it's really easy for your soldier to get denied, but the earlier you do it, like, the less chances of just getting properly denied there are, because the enemy team is also rolling out as well. And if you're able to just like passively play and lob like a pipe or two towards like wherever the enemy team is rolling out towards while you're getting denied, that gives your soldier more time to get what it needs done. And that's pretty much like the main thing you're banking on there. Like, your soldier really doesn't need to get that good of a bomb off if they can die, but it's really easy to just jump directly in and land 2 rockets there, yeah. So if their sniper goes there, just do that, pretty much, for the mid-fight, in specific there.
Alright, that makes sense, I guess.
I've always
Jesus,
heard
this-
on rollout that you should have someone watching under. Typically, I've heard engineer or heavy. Who would you recommend having do that? To watch for like the underflank heavy.
Well, if you have your heavy rolling out tunnel, have your engineer do it. If you're not calling, you're having your heavy rollout tunnel, have your heavy watch it. If anybody tries to pick through the doorway, they get shredded. Your engineer can still get like Reddit tapped by a soldier down here. And if you're not having your like heavy rollout tunnel, you're having a heavy watch this, that means your engineer can just walk up here, set up a wrangled mini on the mid fight, maybe help deal with the soldier if he tries to jump your tunnel. And then it's just like, you get a wrangled mini up here in the mid fight, it is so hard to deal with while the enemy team is trying to fight point. So just be calling your rollouts, like have your heavy be calling what they're going to be doing for the mid fight, have your soldier be like aware of that so they can whip support them, you know. Just make sure your team knows what they're doing. It's a really good practice, especially for like Asheville and Cascade, where there's a lot of different mid fight strategies that you could potentially do, and it's very important that like people know what you're doing from the start based off, you know, it's like what's working best, what you know about the enemy team, and what you feel like is being most effective there. I would say either one, yeah. I wouldn't usually say both, and if the enemy team doesn't say anything under here, or, you know, it's just like you're making the call to flood point, have your heavy just body with your team anyways. But if the engineer is the person you do have watching under here, it is like it's your engineer can kind of be watching this full time, but if you're able to get a call, you know, that's like, okay, the enemy team is either flooding from under here, we can get to point and just cap it anyways, kill any players they aren't fighting with under and then collapse on them, or you get you call there's nobody under, then it's like your heavy should just be walking with your team at that point. If it's your heavy watching that, you can try and go through an underflank or something as NG. It's just like heavy watch is usually a lot more like beneficial if the enemy team is actually sending things under, if you know they're going to be sending things under. But it is much more important for your heavy to like be supporting your team on the fight, as long as it's not something the enemy team is going to keep taking advantage of. Like, as long as if you said your NG down here, they're not going to keep pressuring him out. You're usually like not looking to do too much with under here, you're just making sure the enemy team isn't doing anything down here. You're getting a call of what they do, and you're kind of just delaying them for your team on the point there. But I don't know, just definitely
on mid fights.
Yeah.
Like on the rollout, other than demo jumping over ramp or jumping under bats, does the rest of the team get whipped through main normally?
From what I recall, yeah. My memory is actually a little rusty on like what the rest of the team would do on the mid-fight rollout, but I'm 80% sure they are just waddle in from like main here. Your demo man gets here early, gets some spam calls if they're where their sniper's playing. Your soldier makes a distraction, like prepares to make a distraction, spams them for tunnel a little bit. Maybe it's like you get a lot of visuals early. Your scout's playing forward on the point. You get calls, you know, if their sniper's called, but then it's like, you know, oh, maybe we just like don't walk through this doorway for a little bit. But usually you're able to like get here pretty early on if you get whipped, if you roll out together. I think otherwise, like, I think slow left side or just like walking ramp could be preferred, but I feel like usually it's just like walking in through this, like, so you're able to directly kind of contest through the doorway is usually ideal. Because otherwise it's like occasionally you'll run into the issue teams have on Asheville mid fights, where it's just like everybody's kind of being passive, everybody's kind of afraid of it, and people aren't taking the fight together, they're just like sitting passively on your side of the map. And also it's just like, it's less of an angle you're directly contesting from. Whereas here it's like, if the enemy team is called rolling at right side, if you're slower than them a little bit, you know, it's like you're kind of in a position to deal with that. If they're called left side, you're in a position to deal with that, and you just have a lot of control of the map in general. Whereas if you try and like roll at ramp, the enemy team gets like super forward on the left side point, you're kind of screwed here. If you're not faster than them, if they get positioning, if your demoman dies, if they get more presence than you, if their sniper rolls out there, so on and so forth, then you're in a really bad spot for the mid fight, and you might need to back out of that point anyways. Rolling out left side here is a lot safer, I would say. It gives you more options, But again, it's a lot harder to be locked out of the mid-fight, and it's a lot easier to like respond to whatever the enemy team's doing as if you go in from around here, I'd say.
Yeah, I was mostly questioning because, like, as a soldier, you're normally whipping heavy. So if you're going out left side and the heavy goes out right side, that doesn't really make sense if the heavy doesn't get whipped.
Yeah. Just like, you know, you can get whips, do a single jump or so around here. Keep whipping heavy, keep whipping sniper, then it's like you kind of split off. You can whip your sniper again if they're rolling around our House, and then it's like you could do another rocket jump.
By the way,
get in here.
Do we use that version of Cascade RC2?
I think it's final. Or,
There's no final. It's
there's a
I think we use stock.
Yeah, it should be stock Cascade.
I swear to God, we use stock Cascade. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember the choke being a little bit wacky like that on the right side, or like in Valley.
You know what? The map did get an official release, didn't it?
It
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
In the meantime,
I mean,
I
it's
have a
close enough.
question.
Yeah.
As a heavy during the mid fight, when is a good time to make an underplay?
You can just call it early and be like, "Hey, I want to go under."
It's kind of like you go under, NG's on cap with us, or NG's under and you're on cap
It
with
needs
us.
to like happen before the mid fights even happen. You need to tell me like, okay,
Yeah, like if we're fast, then you can go under. Otherwise,
Pretty
you
much,
can
yeah.
just defend under.
I'm always fast, so.
Always fast. But
And if they
definitely,
don't
yeah,
put
just be
anyone
calling your
under-
team to it.
At all, I'll just play normal mid fight or
Yeah, I'm usually not a fan of like under strats going through under. It's like really gimmicky and it's really easy for the enemy team to just play off of and deny.
I think I've seen it work one time, and it worked really, really well. And it was like against one of my friend's team. He was playing UGC, and it was a heavy that was actually cheating. And he goes on a 5k after that, and then dies
See,
instantly too.
I don't know,
so-
like it works really well, right? But then it's just like the enemy team is like, okay, they're sending something under. What do we do about it? And then the team
you just
keeps
put a
doing
single
it.
sentry gun there, and then it
Right.
literally like checks for it. Like, oh wow, someone
Yeah.
shot my gun. Someone might be lower. Or oh wow,
Yeah.
my gun
Pretty
shot
much, yeah.
somebody.
Your heavy.
Somebody might be lower.
Passively on top of it.
I don't know. It is
Yeah.
really important to have your heavy be supporting your team for the mid fight, though. But if they send a lot of things, through, yeah, having heavy watching it's nice.
I'd rather have my pooter shooting things with me on the point because
Honestly,
if something
same.
overextends, it's easier.
And it's like, yeah, at a certain point, teams are smart enough to realize that, okay, maybe sending things through under over and over again is the smartest idea. I will say, though, if you are planning on sending things under, have your soldier be whipping your heavy through under, have your soldier heavy be working together. Whips make it a lot more likely that it is going to work out because it's relying on the element of surprise and catching the enemy team off guard and out of position. And if your heavy is slow, you are not achieving that there. Definitely make sure it's a premeditated crime.
alright.
Make sure
That
everybody
way,
knows.
we can roll out from spawn that middle doorway down the staircase and go through main.
Yeah.
That way, everybody can be whipped and the soldier can still be on left side.
Yeah, like having your soldier be on left side is really important. I'm pretty sure this would be accurate, like the main rollout, but I'm not 100% on that. You might want to just look at a demo or something, see what teams do today. I'm pretty sure it's fairly good, though. I don't know.
What the fuck? You're on China National TF2 team. I just looked at the LFP in RGL.gg, and I was like, the first thing I see, like when I see the link, is that Blizz Tank raps like Eminem, and is also the soldier for China National TF2 team.
Yes, I'm a bit hungry and thirsty right now, but usually I also have some sores, so I'm not talking as fast as I usually would necessarily. Like my
You
speech is a
talk
little more sloppy.
very fast.
That
Okay, like when we started, I was like, "What is he saying?"
that's why we do
I can't
recordings, huh?
understand. I couldn't understand you. I like usually during a map review, they talk like slow enough to the point where I can like be like chilling. Like I don't even have to be looking at the screen to like take in the
Usually.
information. I can usually just assume, but I usually do look at the screen. And I heard you. I was like, wait, whoa, wait, slow.
You have to start. You have to focus in.
Yo, give me a second to
okay.
process.
We're
this,
going over some
please.
Kingdom Hearts lore.
Oh my god, you wouldn't even be able to do that in 3 hours.
That's true. Let's see.
It would take an average man 2 days.
Yeah, it does work out well, like very well initially. Usually, like it'll work out versus a team once or twice or so, but don't do it again. Don't expect it to work out again. That's all I gotta say about the understrats. And if the enemy team does it, don't panic. Just come up with a solution.
Understrat, stinky. I think I did it one time in a pug and I got a 5k, and then I never did it again.
Beast. Other questions?
What makes a better home defense animal, an emu or a goose?
Well, can we talk about like how to do sacks on this map?
I think gooses are pretty funny.
If it's a Canadian goose, sure.
Blitz, how do we sack on this map? Like a 7-man sacker?
Tunnel.
You throw yourself at the you throw yourself at the medic.
Yeah.
And then the demo and the soldier like either bomb from the left side or the demo because he.
My favorite sack on
Yes, you can.
Cascade. Like
You run fist of steel and you hold W.
No, let the man talk, Squiddo.
yeah, it's good. But this is something imposters would do. It's very funny, but like whenever they wanted to sack, we would just like 7-man through tunnel and just have soldier whip everybody through and just drop down. Very funny. It felt decently practical, honestly. I kind of prefer it, but usually, like, it would just be something more like your soldier, maybe scout or something goes up top left, and then your combo just kind of, like, whoever else walks into them right around this corner when they're holding forward here and makes a distraction for your soldier. You're kind of, like, giving them that opening there. You're directly contesting, which means their heavy is either looking over here or is losing the game for his team. Same thing with their pyro and the majority of the rest of their team. If you have people contesting from right here while your soldier bombs across and they're holding super forward, it very hard for them to deal with properly for a sack there. For your standard push, the enemy team is going to start expecting it at a certain point, and they'll play a bit more passively, and they'll have more flank presence, and they will shoot your players on ramp. But if you were just doing a speedy sack, if you're just trying to get everybody in, just ramp is the easiest direct angle for that. You're trading your life for it. Like 90% of the time, you're usually losing your life when you roll out and take this fight from ramp. But it does ensure you're instantly having an impact. You're not necessarily getting denied by their sniper. If they are cold left side, though, absolutely just run at them from the tunnel, drop into them from above. If they're holding right side, though, like, from what I recall, like teams with like 90% do this, maybe like 10% do this or so. And just 7 people. 2 going from here. 5 right here. And flood in for the glorious motherland. Does that make enough sense?
Yeah. For like a standard push, we would go through like main or like a catwalks, right? Or
yeah, main or like left side, play around the counter, play it slow, wait for your players to be in position, try and play the spam, work your players in. For sacks though, just take the most direct route to the enemy team there so that your players who are actually going in the sack have a chance at making something work there. Otherwise it's just like you're just sitting AFK on your team's side of the map while your soldier just gets shot by 9 things. It's just like you kind of have to force the enemy team to be unable to focus on your soldier, and the only way you are successfully doing that is by having your team just flood players through here and shoot at the enemy heavy demo whatever directly here. And
You should only worry about sound.
What?
What?
You cut out? Only worry about sacks.
Yeah.
I think Cinderace died.
Cinderace
Damn.
dies and goes to hell part 2.
Who stopped spy checking?
Pickle, give us some insight here. Give us a good question.
Well, I actually do have another question.
Yeah,
While
ask.
we wait for Cinderace to come back alive, what do you recommend for holds? Like, I know the shield hold, but are there other holds? Like,
Forward towards their ramp, or just super aggro against like one of these 2 walls.
alright.
It's usually like, again, either really aggro here, super aggro over here if they just keep rolling out ramp and you really want to lock out their main, but this means you're not contesting them on the right side and they're able to just kind of walk up through here the entire time, and the only way you're kind of dealing with that like at that point is by just walking at them while your soldier goes in. Like that's the point where you have to try and recontest it if they're called going out right side, and it trades a lot of vision. So like that's usually the reason why you wouldn't see teams doing this, because they just kind of get this side of the map uncontested, this whole lane, and it's super protected, and they're not
Also,
usually
the
going to lose
sniper
much.
just goes concrete, and then you're dead.
Yeah, pretty much. But then here, it's like you're playing around your flank. If you go left side here, you can either hold super aggro here, collapse, hold like kind of passive here, use the cover. But the most important thing there is that you're working with your flank rather than just like letting them do whatever, right? When they're holding one of these 3 spots, they're denying their sniper, which means your team is getting this hold off, you're getting that space. And for Cascade, it is really important that you play around these covers, that you play the spam battles, and that you can test the enemy team on these choke points. You're not holding the point that well if you're just sitting super passive behind your rock here, because they're able to get so much ground, and they are able to get their players into a really good position of pressure and sack into you. Their soldier get... I'm done.
Oh.
I'm good, by the way.
Oh.
But
Oh.
anyways, once their shoulder gets
Let's
up there,
think.
start
Type
shooting.
into your console SV cheats, or SV_cheats 1.
I'm not a cheater. I have integrity.
Oh, I'm a filthy cheater, okay. So,
I will not cheat. But
Tank would never cheat.
of course. But anyways, if their soldier is allowed to just get up here, start spamming at you from here, and you're holding really passively, everybody's doing the same damage, your power has to be like perma looking up and right clicking this, or else your team just dies, your dispenser dies, and their demo walks around here, spams into you, boom, you're dead. Like, it's just really good if you can hold more aggressive, and there's a lot that you can do to kind of buy time and to delay. Like, in a sense, I feel like you're a lot more protected if you're holding aggressively there, because you have control over their choke points. Whereas if you hold like very passively back towards here, the enemy team kind of has the advantage because they're allowed to like get people into tunnel. Like, you're not really able to support tunnel that effectively, which means they have the high ground, and they're able to kind of just control like the flow of the game there. And it's like you're gonna lose players if you keep trying to hold it at that point. You're gonna get pressured out and you're just losing the point. Like, I just don't think it's that valuable to be doing a super passive hold. Like, I think like the most passive you want to be is against one of these walls, basically.
If you're passive, you basically just give up a fuckload of space for not really all that much in return.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
you
not
might as
like-
well just get the force or take the exchange. If you're at this head and you have point, it's just like, I don't know, just make sure med is ready to bait, and that's all you need.
It's not like Asheville where it's like playing super passive or something like helps your team like against sacks or helps your team hold the point. If anything, it makes it much worse to play against sacks because you're not able to have your players in a position to like prevent them from sacking in the first place, which is going to be one of their go-to strats for trying to bust through. But also, like, you know, again, the more people that are able to get in through from more angles, the less intel you have, the much more risk your medic is at due to how wide open the map is. And so the best thing you can do to protect your medic is to lock down as many of these doorways as possible and to know where enemies are coming from and when. So pretty much, yeah. Like, that's the reasoning there. Like, in a sense, you're really not able to protect your players as well as you would be if you're holding aggressively, if that makes sense. Because you're all able to be in support of each other rather than just leaving your flank to be stranded and then getting spammed out by their flank, their sniper, their demo. Do you have anything else to add, Zaquita? Like, on that note?
Oh, not really.
Okay, I do appreciate, like, the comment.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, yeah. There's some cloth maps where it can be a lot better to hold passively, but I just don't.
Okay, wait, unrelated. Can I get your opinion on a certain character in the community?
Depends on who it is.
Do you know a man named Dwaggy?
Yes. But this is probably something, like, not... I don't know, I guess it depends. I get kind of, like, a weird vibe from that being asked, like, but, perhaps that
I'm
would be
just
something
asking
to
because I tried out for their main team the other day.
Maybe you should ask off camera.
That's... Alright, like if
Oh
it's
wait, we're recording right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, if it's anything sensitive, like
This is live on Twitch, Squiddo. What the hell?
not on Twitch, just
Why are
On
we on
OB.
Twitch?
just
No, we're on
recording.
Twitch.
Like Squiddo,
Wait,
he asked to
are we?
record like at the start.
I wasn't here at the start. I was making cereal.
But I don't know, like I don't have anything bad to say, but if you have anything like kind of sensitive, yeah, like I wouldn't talk about it right now.
I was just asking because I'm like, I tried out for their team, and I just kind of want to get an idea
Okay.
of like the person.
I don't know. I think they're a pretty alright person. Like they really care a lot about their team. They try and like.
I guess
mentor a lot in the
I've
previous
talked with
version.
Dwaggy like personally,
Yeah.
but we've never really had like a sit down, you know. So just wanted to
No,
kind
it
of
makes
understand
sense. Definitely, like if you just like definitely the best thing you can do is just take the first step and kind of be vocal there, kind of just interact with them and get a gauge for yourself out of game. It's like it's
Yeah.
something that can really help when it comes to tryouts because it's like there's only so much you get from just like your interactions with them as a leader directly, like or within the context of scrims. I honestly just like. Usually when people ask a question along those lines, it's like, with that sort of phrasing, usually it's like there's a more dramatic context to it, so I was a bit apprehensive, but I really don't mind
Oh,
if it's
yeah.
like a more positive sort of thing, like I'm fine with that.
Man, I don't know what the fuck you just said, but yeah.
Fuck his mom. That's a good way to break the ice.
What? Hey yo,
But yeah, I don't know.
break the ice. You're creating ice.
And any other questions that are intended
Okay.
for recording?
Okay, yeah, relative to the map.
I'm
We could talk about more stuff afterwards.
I have
Okay.
a
Oh my
question,
God,
though,
Cinder's
like-
alive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Cinderace, ask your question.
My question was dumb, and I don't need to ask it.
Ask it. I'm demanding.
Ask
Cause
it.
I was literally just going to create random questions, and I was first asking like, there's no reason to sack, right? Unless we had like a major dissat or a medic's dead, like ever.
There's like a couple of reasons to sack. Maybe you just kind of want an advantage going into a fight, I guess, but that's like everything.
Yeah.
Like if you just want an advantage going into a
Like
fight,
you can sack
you can
just
throw
to
a sack.
start an exchange or something.
Soldier would sack
Yeah.
for like sniper,
Yeah,
for
soldier.
example. If
Because if you start an exchange like with like a sniper or like a demo pick, which is fucking huge, your exchange is gonna be 10 million times better. Or like a heavy pick or something like that.
Yeah, like
I just don't include that as a sack anymore because that is an actual team fight. You're not
Right, like,
trying
that's just an
to
issue.
kill yourself.
Well, you're not including your medic in it because
you're never
you're-
trying to kill yourself.
But a traditional sack, it's just like if you're finding yourself like at a disadvantage, that's always a fine time to do it. Making use of the downtime, see if you can collect any picks. Perfectly fine to do as a general rule of thumb for any map, especially Koth, though, you know. Sack and the downtime, make use of it if you're not doing anything else. Like if you're at a disadvantage, you're not really getting a good push off unless you can get the Uber out anyways, and the best way to do that would be to get a sack and maybe get other players down as well.
Yeah.
On an even fight, though, I wouldn't really say so unless you're just not able to get through doorways, in which case, fuck it, just flood through, be Soviet. You're probably losing players, you're probably losing that fight, but they have longer spawners, and if you could get more picks than them somehow, if you can get, like, more ground, hypothetically speaking, I'm not endorsing your team to do this, but if you're just not able to get like ground through more traditional means from just playing the fights more correctly, just try and flood together more, I guess. Like if you really need to, just go in, commit things, see what happens. It can be a good practice if your team is having a lot of trouble committing together to just kind of just take fights as a death
The
ball.
actual way you play this map is you just like forever 9-man waterfall. Even on ad.
Yeah.
So true.
I actually want to do that now, at least once.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
so
really
funny.
funny. It is really funny.
It's so much fun.
Funny is
Alright,
more
I do-
important than
I do have
anything
a follow-up
else.
question though.
You,
for, like,
you
Yeah.
gotta run like once or twice. You gotta like run one or two games though, where you
Nine,
play it
let
normally.
let me have the floor. So, question for heavy in the mid fight though. What would have to happen in the previous match for me to make a good judgment call of okay, I should go under or I should go waterfall?
I mean, you could just like look at their
Instead of,
players.
like,
I'd
flipping
say
it-
like where,
Yeah.
Flipping a coin and be
But-
like,
like okay, where they're standing because they're likely gonna stand in the exact same spot. If you see that they have like a gun kind of like near on their concrete, or it's called out, or like your spy goes lower, you can just have your spy go lower and like check it
Alright,
out if you want.
Yeah, spy lower is
So
pretty
that
good.
I'm asking Blitz.
Well, I think it's good to have input from multiple sources. Like I'm not an infallible
know,
source.
But I could ask Twitter any question any day of the week.
Ah, that's fair. Hey, you could do that with me as well. I mean, option is there. But anyways, okay. So I would say normally like a lot of the time, like Isaac was saying, you can really get a gauge for it like in the match. But to sort of get to the point, like you kind of like you just do like a standard rollout for like a fight or two. Maybe one of those fights, like if your engineer is going up top while you're going with your combo, you know, maybe spend more time looking at under. But if you're having your spy call it, you don't really need to worry about passively watching under anyways. Definitely though, it's just like for the first like round or two while you're kind of struggling to get engaged for the enemy team, how they play. If you can't, like, if you don't have the ability to piece that together from how you've played against them on other maps, then I would definitely say just go with your combo, like, across point for the first fight or two. If the enemy team sends a lot of things under, and you feel like you can kind of outplay them with your spy or soldier, whatever other class there, that's when I'd say maybe, like, try going under for a fight there. If they just keep flooding left side point over and over again, and you see them in the previous mid fight, if it works for their team, they're probably going to do it again. If it doesn't work for their team, that's probably when they're trying to adjust that, and you gotta try and predict what their adjustment's going to be. Like, you have to put yourself into the mind of the enemy team. Okay, we lost on this side here, what do we do? So on and so forth. I'm not a mind reader, I can't answer that for you, especially in a lot, in like every from division to division, but you kind of just gotta get and go and feet and look at things for yourself, talk with your team if you need to, make use of the rollout time and the downtime, halftime if you have it, and just be paying attention to how the enemy team plays out of game. But definitely if they keep flooding left side, go through top left, use the enemy team's expectations against them as I just said a second ago, like just if something works, expect them to keep trying to make it work. Teams like doing that, teams like free wins, teams like not adapting unless they have to, especially in the moment. You know, don't change something unless you have a reason to, so on and so forth. But if something is going right for the enemy team, and especially if it's something that you personally are like the reason for happening, you have to expect the enemy team to see and understand that as well, and you have to adjust as well. So if you get a lot of luck going through under, going through top left, something like that, don't just keep doing it and expecting it to work. You might want to change the timing a bit if you still do intend on doing it. It's like soldier bombs in Asheville. They know the soldier bomb's coming. Soldier's always going to bomb there, but you always have the choice. You could go with their bats, then go in from their ramp or shutter. Two options. You can insta-bomb their shutter, trade for demo, that's an option on the mid-fight. You can delay bomb their ramp, you can insta-bomb their ramp. Just like, take into account all your options. Use what the enemy team knows about you and like what you've done in previous rounds to your advantage. And just keep a sense of like how the enemy team is playing. But I think like this is case in point number 2, much more important to note. If you played against the enemy team, especially in scrims, you notice, okay, this heavy plays on flank a lot. This heavy goes under, or like plays around under their bats on Asheville a lot. That is a team that you can expect to want to send their heavy under. Lakeside Bathhouse, not so much because it's meta, but if a team likes saying they're heavy on concrete, on product, or flank on Asheville, like through under, you can probably expect them to try and work their heavy into their play by going through under. Like, a lot of heavies are really linear in that sense, especially like in the lower divs, where it's just like, okay, flanking is working for my team, I'm just gonna keep going on these flank routes. That's the sort of team that you can expect, like, or player that you can expect to try and go for those plays, and you can sort of use that to your advantage. So like that's when you could kind of expect it. Maybe that's when you like try and contest it on a roll it. But it's just like you have to realize like who your opponents are, like how they work, sort of how they think, and just what they do in other maps, and then contextualize that. Like again, under on Asheville, under on Cascade. Teams that like doing one usually like doing the other to an extent, like especially if it's a heavy though there. Tunnel, it's a bit harder to gauge. You just have to kind of pay attention on the mid-fights. More questions? Any?
Thank you for answering.
Of course. It's a bit of a drawn-out answer for sure, but usually it's like...
I like the drawn-out answers. I love them.
Yeah. I've like... become more self-sufficient with it, I think, yeah.
Alright, let's create a what-if scenario, and I want you to answer
A
this to me.
hypothetical.
Yes, yes, yes. So, let's say there's some asshole scout inside of our house right now.
Okay.
And we have, like, you know, not that much time to work with. Like, let's say there's like 30 seconds on the clock. You know, should we send somebody to deal with him and pressure him out before we take the fight, or should we just say, fuck it, and, like, keep him in the back of our head?
If it's a scout in house, I'd say have your soldier deal with it, and then they can just rotate, like, get in there if they need to, jump in from here anyways. If it's house in specific, like, all you really need to do is send soldier, though, if your soldier is good DM. All it takes is 2 rockets in one of these many areas, and then their scout is dealt with. I wouldn't necessarily say you need to send somebody as long as you have people kind of backline watching the area, like, if your soldier is rolling out top left, if you have flankers rolling out, like, I'd say just, like, have them control this at least a little bit, like, while your team is getting in position to take a fight. Basically, it's something you do before your team is in position to take a fight, like, while they're rolling out, while they're still getting their positioning. Like, in the downtime there, if you get a call that, okay, scout's in house, you have your scout soldier deal with it together. Otherwise, I would usually suggest having one player at least, like, passively looking for it, and potentially look into dealing with it. I do think scout when they're in house, yeah.
Okay.
But, like, this really should be something your team is doing on checking before you're taking a fight, right? And it should be kind of easily dealt with. Like, if it's your soldier that rolls out around here, kind of gets a check on it, they should be able to deal with it there by themselves. If it's a full enemy flank in your house, then I would say maybe commit more to dealing with it. So, what's that?
I was gonna say, like, one of my biggest issues whenever I'm playing something like Koth or whatever is, like, when there's, like, a lot of hyper-aggression, like, hey, we need to, like, retake point, but there's a lot of players that are kind of just everywhere all at once, and the issue is that, like, if we touch point, we just kind of get 7 men collapsed on from every part of the map, you know? So it's like, what do I do in that situation? Like, a good example being, like, Asheville. Like, if you lose, like, the Asheville mid, like, really, really badly, like, you literally full wipe, you might have players, like, on your bats, or, like, the sniper in the shutter, you know, classic Highlander things, right? And it kind of becomes annoying to retake. It becomes, like, a little bit of a bitch thing to do. And then you might drop a player here and there, or you might drop, like, you know, this or that, and it just becomes a snowball. I'm curious, how would you go about kind of breaking that, like, snowball effect of, like, okay, now this player's in, now this player's in, because let's say I kill, let's say there's a scout on the far left of the map, and, well, yes, we deal with him, he also trades for our scout, and now we don't have a scout going into this push, but they're just down a scout, and that doesn't really mean anything for them, like, fuck. Do you have any commentary on, like, that kind of, like, snowballing effect that just kind of happens, and how to kind of prevent just that from happening? Because I've heard that, like, I don't know, I've heard a lot of things about it, and I just wanted, like, take on it, because it's something that happened, like, when I was trying out for a couple other teams, or, like, happens during pugs, or, and I feel, like, responsible, like, as a main caller, to try and get it done, try and get it dealt with, and, like,
Okay.
make sure it's, you know, fucked off, and then you can return to a normal situation. There was, like, a situation on, like, my tryout where we were getting snowballed super hard. We had to throw a sack at their med to get them, but we just could, like, no, this was, like, during scrims, actually, with this team. So we were getting snowballed really, really hard, and it was impossible to run a sack because we had constant pressure all the time, and the sack might as well just not even happened because we had to deal with these players back here, but they just kept coming in.
So what you usually do in that case is how your players play it safe. But it's like, you just gotta realize, right? You usually want your side of the map kind of cleared, or you need to make sure that you're not going to be losing players for push anyways. If you have a ton of people like really forward on Asheville, like on your bats, then you kind of need to clear them out before you can push. Same thing goes if they're holding under your bats. If you leave a heavy just sitting under your bats while you're waiting for a push to happen, like while you're organizing, you drop down, you get mulched by their heavy there. So what do? You take use of the downtime, like, okay, we're not pushing for a bit anyways, we're still getting our players in position. You make use of that downtime and you tell your players, okay, let's clear under our bats. And it's just like, you gotta do those little things, like you have to be checking passively in the downtime, you have to be getting intel and calls on who's playing where, have your spy be calling it, especially, like who's playing forward, like if any players are alone, and you have to take advantage of that. If you don't take advantage of that, you are letting the enemy team kind of just like punish your team over and over again. And if your player, like, it's really important for you there to just have your players be communicative on what they're struggling with. And a lot of the time what happens is, with that sort of snowballing effect, is that panic sets in. People just keep repeating the same thing. Hey, there's a scout on our bats. Hey, there's a scout on our bats. Hey, there's a scout on our bats. I'm the sniper, I keep dying to that. Guys, something has to change. And the only way things are gonna change is if somebody steps in and says something actionable. Okay, we'll send our soldier house. What does this do? 2 rockets around any of these areas, and a scout basically just dies. Now they're down a scout. You send a better class to deal with the threat than just matching the class there directly. You don't always want to directly match the threat, you want to outplay their threat. And so in a house, like in an enclosed space, that would be a soldier there. Yeah? Like directly to that example. And then it's like, you know, your soldier is very mobile. They're down a scout, that's actually really fantastic. Like, if you have a scout advantage, that means your scout is able to do so much more versus their team. Especially on Cascade, he can be a total mess around the high ground of rocks. But yeah, for that example, definitely soldier, I think. Just have your soldier deal with things. Your scout can as well if they want, but the thing is, it's kind of conducive to the flank in general, right? Because if they get a pick on their scout, that means their flank is weak. I guess that'd be a like an example for a more flank-heavy map, but the idea is, getting that pick allows your players to do what they would normally be doing in that time better anyways, yeah? Because then they don't have to worry about the enemy team having that player alive. And so then, the enemy team playing like super aggressively there works out to your team's advantage. As long as you just come up with a decision, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be something. Otherwise, things are gonna keep getting repeated, people are gonna panicking, and they're gonna like keep spending all their time like half committing between looking behind and going forward. And if you do that, you're not gonna win the game. So at some point, like if your team just keeps panicking, not dealing with this, if you're having trouble with it, just come up with a solution. Yeah, soldier here. If it's an enemy sniper in tunnel, soldier spy coordinates something. Soldier bombs, spy walks in. Boom. You have a huge advantage around here in specific, because your spy walks in from behind, your soldier bombs in here. They're looking for a deal with your soldier, because it's so enclosed. 1-2 rocket, they all die. Your spy goes in, boom. You have to give your team an advantage to work with, basically there. What do I want to say on that?
Neat.
Let me take a sip of water. But yeah, with like scout, soldier, like flank in specific, another thing to consider though, yeah. Okay, having a scout pick or whatever players in your house, very good for your flank to have, very good for your combo to have, gives your team advantage, but also, think about it this way, right? If your soldier is gonna like be going in from top left, then it really isn't that much of a big of an ask to like say, okay soldier, I need you to clear our house before this push. And you don't want to keep delaying, you don't want to waste a lot of time, but as if you're not able to directly kill the enemy threat, all you need to do is to contain it, right? And that means, like, as long as you have a player assigned to dealing with that threat, they're able to contain them, they're able to keep them distracted, that means your team is able to focus fully on going in on point. And that means you're winning that fight instead of just having half your players looking behind and getting chipped shot from behind while half of them are walking in. And especially with like all these choke points, right? You know, you might not always be able to get a kill, but if you have a player like your soldier controlling that threat, keeping them boxed in and keeping an eye on them, preventing them from collapsing, then it's basically like just as good as whatever other play you'd want to have them doing. Like, if you can't deal with a threat, contain it, basically, yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
The longest response ever.
Yes, I am very not good at, like, being clear.
I kind of understood it from like at the first, and then I kind of was just like letting you talk. And
you could have gotten it.
Blitzstank doesn't do anything small. You ask him for an explanation, you're getting a buck.
I'd like to make sure people have like all they could have, you know.
Which is very good. It's why your
I
reviews
really
are some
like
of
the
the
long
best.
explanations.
Anyway, so let me give some quick other context examples though. Enemies peeking your shutter on Ashful, have your flank be chipping at them from your ramp. Like, have your soldier be just like rocking them, force their pyre to look away if their pyre's picking your shutter, and then it's like your heavy is watching from bats with like a full buff, like, and he's just kind of peek around the stairs. Your demo man can be playing maybe like a little further back in the lobby, and just like trapping the shutter. Usually it's just like if you can have your heavy like be playing on the stairs of bats, and just shooting the doorway while your demo man lobs some stickies into it, then you can kind of just like prevent them from peeking your shutter over and over again. But that kind of comes down to like just having a call on it, having your spy call it, having your players roll out together, and then just making sure you're taking that fight together instead of just like rolling out, expecting everything to be normal over and over again, and then staggering and losing players. For bats in specific though, actually going out your ramp is kind of good for that, because you can kind of collapse in that enemy team from behind. If you try and pick like your bats from below, I'll try and I'll go to Ashful actually. Understandable.
What happened?
I guess he's gone.
Who just left?
Squiddo.
Squiddo!
I win.
Hey, Pickle. Can we get some insight here? Can we get some legendary information?
But anyways, real quick though, as I was gonna say, I guess it's not as relevant anymore, but if you keep trying to peek your bats from like this angle while they're forward holding your bats, you're dying here. You're taking such a bad fight. What you do instead is you come out far or left side. I wouldn't say you peek your lobby. Like, you still kind of have the same issue in lobby, although it is a lot better than peeking bats, but what you do is you just like get as many people as you can go through ramp, you get onto point, and then the entire enemy team is caught on your bats and a few choke points, and then you can kind of just pick them off one by one when they're kind of scattering to go back to point. Like, you force the enemy team to panic in that case, yeah.
So you wrap around them, basically.
Yes, and then they're losing point, and you're all playing together, and the enemy team's not, because they're trying to have control of your side of the map. And it is just so much more effective than just taking a low ground fight into them on one spam corridor, or a low ground fight, when they can just easily lock you out. This gives you a lot of cover from that enemy team. If they see you start going ramp and they back out, then you cancel the ramp push, because ramp pushes are really bad actually, and then you go your bats or shutter right off that. But if you have like your spy calling what their team's doing, and it's called that they're not backing up bats or they don't see you go ramp, then you just walk all the way here, and then they're all caught here, and they have so many players out of position that you're getting the point, and they kind of just lose the game off that. And the general idea is, like, it's easy to panic, right? It's easy to kind of struggle, but you have to realize what you can do off of something. You can't just keep feeding in, playing into the enemy team's hand. You have to make sure you have a solution of some sort, so you don't just keep panicking. And you want to force the enemy team to have to react. Other question?
Why is my cat so loud?
They want a full buff. 185. That, or they're 124 HP and they need a large med.
I sort of have an odd question. Like,
Ask.
as heavy, sometimes when I just roll out through shutter on Asheville, I'll just immediately get headshot. Is there any way to avoid that?
Dodge and weave.
Fist the steel.
Dodge and weave.
Fair enough.
Usually it's like your sniper will be peeking this with you though, but like first the steal for a little bit here can be fine, but make sure it's like, you know, you're switching in time to deal with the bomber, so on and so forth. If you keep getting headshot over and over again, though, I'd say that might be a bit of a team thing. Otherwise, if you're really not feeling like rolling out with your combo directly, just working out, you can go crates and try and crossfire. And that's pretty effective there, and that means you're also not getting headshot. But usually you do kind of just want to be rolling out and with your combo and supporting them directly there. Because bombers. Also just having people on point. But usually it's just like either people are way too passive and you're getting kind of baited on the rollout to the mid-fight there, their snipers not being contested or enough, or just like you need fists out for just a tiny little bit longer when you're initially breaking through the shutter, and then you switch out once it's like you have players in position and deny the enemy sniper more. Next question. I guess that's all the questions.
When is it acceptable to have everyone kill bind to BM the enemy team?
Nah, I'm the only one who asks questions around here. No one else does.
When the enemy team uses endgame chat and they're being stupid, that's when it's acceptable to strike back and retaliate with a move of your own, such as 9-man kill binding.
Optimal. Alright, we're running this tonight, guys.
You have to wait for the moral justification, though. You know, you gotta be a person of principle.
I cannot connect to the server.
The server may not be open yet. Let me check.
I was literally I was on the server and then I timed out and then I tried reconnecting and I can't.
I guess that'll be it for the recording, yeah?
Thank you, Blizzard.
Yeah, I think so.